Isabel, just talk through what you found while being there over the last day or so.
Hi, Tom. Well, I've spent my time so far here in Warsaw interviewing the politicians about the scale of the crisis that they are now dealing with. Yesterday, for GBNews, we interviewed the Deputy Prime Minister and also the Education Secretary here, who talked at length about the challenges that will be faced by the schools here. We've got something like 500,000 children have come over the border, and now the question is how to absorb those into Polish schools. And what amazed me was actually the willingness of the government here to contemplate that. It's hard to imagine the British government saying, yes, sure, we're going to absorb 500,000 extra children into our schools, but they've already got a plan for that, and it seems to be fairly well organised. I'm here with Bradley, who has been in Poland since Sunday and has been having some very different experiences. Bradley, what have you been seeing so far?
Yeah, well, Isabel, we're currently standing in one of the main train stations in Przemyśl. We're standing in a very grand lobby at the minute, but just next door it's a totally different picture. There is a room filled with mothers, children laying down, trying to rest their heads. Some of these refugees that have fled Ukraine have been on journeys of 20, 30 plus hours, journeys that normally take 5 to 6 hours. When I arrived here on Sunday, I also arrived in Warsaw, made a 6-hour journey down to this city. This city is the closest place to the border between Ukraine and Poland. I was expecting chaos, really, a lot of disorganisation. But actually, at Medyka, there is a sense of people coming together. There's a huge volunteer effort, and there's a big sense that the people of Poland are willing to open their arms to those who live in Ukraine and who are looking to flee their country. So I've been speaking to people in despair, people from Britain, in fact, turning up in their vans with goods in the back, doing what they can to help those who literally have nothing at all.
Yes, Bradley, it is quite an experience to arrive here at this train station, and what strikes me is actually how phenomenally well organised it is here. They've now had several days of this crisis unfolding, and I'm struck by just how well set up it is actually. Outside it's extremely cold, but here in the station, beautiful surroundings. It's an extremely elegant station. They've got the heating on, full pump. It's really quite cosy, and very well set up system for refugees to get free food, to get toiletries. There are bags of toys for children, and right here I'm not actually seeing children in great distress, which was something I was worried about. I'm sure those scenes are elsewhere, but here everything is very, very calm actually. Rows and rows of refugees with all their belongings waiting for the next step in this long journey that they're making and not knowing quite where they're going next.
Well, let's talk about that next step very briefly, because of course you met a family who were hosting complete strangers, refugees welcomed into their home. Do you have a sense of what proportion of people have found homes, have found where they'll be staying until this awful war is over, and how many are still stuck in the shelters and the train stations?
Well, I don't know what the figures are, and certainly at places like this there are hundreds and hundreds of people who are effectively in limbo. Now, they are comfortable, they are, as I said, being fed, they've got a nice environment here as a very temporary stopgap. We're hearing about many volunteers coming and being ready, many Polish people ready to welcome anybody into their homes. And at that house that where we interviewed the family yesterday, that was in a sort of village where many of the families locally had taken in Ukrainian refugees. And I think what's remarkable about this is that the families that are hosting don't know how long this is going to be for. It is a remarkable act of generosity to take people in, and it's not always just one person, just two people. It's the pets as well, the dogs, the cats. And you don't know how long that's going to be for. And for families to have to rub along together, that is quite challenging. But we found that these host families feel a remarkable bond with the people that they are helping. They see them as brothers and sisters, and they are just ready to do whatever it takes.